Welcome back to History of Simple Things. Today's topic comes from one of our viewers at Arnold Capel 6933. Thanks for the suggestion. You asked, why are some grapes seeded and others seedless? If you've ever snacked on grapes, added them to a salad, or wondered why some are smooth and easy to eat while others hide tiny seeds, you've probably noticed that not all grapes are the same. Some come with seeds, others don't. And the story behind this difference is surprisingly rich, spanning centuries of cultivation, genetics, and human innovation. So how did seedless grapes come to be, and why do some grapes still have seeds? Stick around as we uncover the fascinating journey of seeded and seedless grapes. Right here on History of Simple Things. To understand why grapes have seeds, or not, we first need to know a bit about the fruit itself. Grapes belong to the genus Vitis, with the most common species used for eating being Vitis vinifera. A grape is a type of berry, which is a fruit that develops from a single flower with one ovary. Normally, berries produce seeds as part of their natural reproductive process. Seeds are essentially the plant's way of ensuring the next generation. Seeded grapes are the original form of the fruit. Thousands of years ago, all grapes had seeds, just like wild grapes today. These seeds are not just a nuisance, they contain the genetic material necessary to grow new grapevines. But humans, always looking for convenience, eventually began cultivating grapes that were easier to eat, seedless grapes. Seedless grapes are a result of human intervention and selective breeding. Unlike seeded grapes, seedless varieties do not produce fully developed seeds. Instead, they develop tiny, soft seed traces that are barely noticeable when eating. But how did this happen? The key is a process called parthenocarpy. Parthenocarpy is when fruits develop without fertilization. In simple terms, the grape thinks it has been pollinated, so it grows into a fruit, but no seeds form. This natural phenomenon occurs in some wild grape varieties, and plant breeders noticed it and worked to enhance it. Through careful selection and cultivation, humans created grape varieties that consistently produced seedless fruits. Another method to propagate seedless grapes is through cuttings rather than planting seeds. Because seedless grapes cannot reproduce through seeds naturally, growers take cuttings from existing vines and grow new plants that are genetically identical. This is why a seedless grapevine today is essentially a clone of its parent. So, if seedless grapes are easier to eat, why do seeded grapes still exist? Seeded grapes aren't just a remnant of the past. They have several important advantages. First, many seeded grapes have more complex flavors. That's one reason they are often preferred for wine production. The seeds, skins, and even stems contribute to the taste profile of the wine, adding tannins and subtle notes that seedless grapes can't replicate. Second, seeded grapes are genetically more diverse. When you grow a seeded grape from its seed, it is not identical to the parent plant. This genetic diversity is crucial for breeding new varieties, improving disease resistance, and adapting to changing climates. Seedless grapes, being clones, are more uniform but less adaptable in the long term. Finally, some cultures simply prefer the taste and texture of seeded grapes. In many parts of the world, especially in Europe, seeded grapes are considered more traditional and are prized for their authenticity. You might be curious how the seedless grapes you buy at the store actually come to life. Modern seedless grape production relies on a combination of science and careful agriculture. First, growers select parent grape varieties that naturally produce small, underdeveloped seeds. Then, through careful crossbreeding and sometimes chemical treatments, they enhance the seedless traits. The young grapevines are propagated using cuttings rather than seeds to maintain consistency. This ensures that each new plant will reliably produce seedless grapes. The process isn't just about convenience, it's also about yield and market demand. Seedless grapes have become extremely popular, especially in the United States and Asia, because people prefer them for snacking, fruit salads, and lunchboxes. In fact, today, the majority of grapes sold as table grapes are seedless, while seeded varieties are mostly used for wine or specialty markets. Have you ever noticed that seeded grapes often taste richer or more complex than seedless ones? That's no coincidence. Seeds contain compounds like tannins and antioxidants that influence the flavor of the fruit. When you bite into a seeded grape, you're also experiencing subtle chemical interactions that add depth to the taste. Seedless grapes, on the other hand, tend to be sweeter and milder. They lack the slightly bitter notes that come from the seeds, which makes them more appealing to children and people who prefer a smooth, snackable fruit. Some food scientists argue that seedless grapes were bred specifically to satisfy this preference, creating a fruit that is easy, sweet, and convenient. So, which should you choose? It depends on your priorities. If you want convenience, snackability, or something kid-friendly, seedless grapes are perfect. If you care about flavor depth, tradition, or experimenting with wine, seeded grapes might be worth exploring. In the end, both types of grapes tell a story. One about human ingenuity, taste preferences, and the art of cultivation, and the other about the resilience and adaptability of nature. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.